Jersey, New York metro area. So the objectives for today are going to be learn something new. That's not hard, right? Because I'm sure that you're going to with my presentation. We're also going to ask you to write it down. Because I find that when people write things down, they remember it better. So if you don't have a pen or paper, let me know, and I'll see if I can get Rob outside to get some stuff for you to take notes. Or you can take notes on your iPhone or your cell phone or your iPad, whatever you might have. I'm fine with all of that. As a matter of fact, if I say something that you feel needs to be shared with the Twitter world, please pick up your cell phone and tweet it. I'm okay with that too. So I am on Twitter. I am NJ Dental CPA. So here's the other thing we're going to do today. We're going to help you improve your income and quality of life. We're going to fill that chest with jewels today because I'm going to share so many things probably that you don't realize you're not taking advantage of in your practice and ways to measure your practice success. And what is a dental CPA? Well, a dental CPA is somebody who understands the lingo. I speak, you speak. If I say something today that you don't understand because it's accounting speak, then I have a problem. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear. If I say something you don't understand, we're a small group, happy to answer questions, happy to be interrupted to say, I really didn't understand it. And don't think that just because you didn't, everybody else in the room does, because maybe somebody else is a little too shy to raise their hand and say, I don't get it. So let me know. Feel free to interrupt me. Just raise your hand. Happy to stop and answer your questions. I want you to stay up with me because this goes really fast. So I'm knowledgeable about tax strategies and compliance, especially in the dental office. And I have intimate knowledge of how dental practice works. So how many of you see more than 1 or 2 dental practices in your career? I see 1 or 2 dental practices a day. So I bring a lot of knowledge from a lot of different dental practices to the experience that I share with the practices that I work with. Plenty of quality referrals, people that I know out in the dental world that can give you whatever you need in your practice. Schein happens to be one organization that I work closely with because I know that they can deliver what doctors need. And help improve practice profitability and help dentists keep more of what they earn. That's a dental CPA. Here's the group I belong to, the Academy of Dental CPAs. The right accountant can be the difference between success and failure in your practice. So I always tell people that you should work with a CPA and tax preparer who understands your business. So whether you're in dentistry or you're in manufacturing, you should work with somebody that understands how those processes work, because they'll be able to provide you with a lot of guidance, especially if they work with a lot of people in the same industry, or a lot of companies in the same industry. So part of my presentation I'm going to share with you is the top 10 financial mistakes that dentists make. This is really fun, and I promise we're going to have a lot of fun today. So let's look at the #1 mistake that I see, and that's working more and making less. Let's talk about those things, because I'm sure a lot of you are probably seeing it today. So, not increasing fees annually. Let me ask you this. How many of you have given raises to your team? Probably many of you, right? But what happens if you give raises to your team if your lab bills go up, if your rent's going up, if your utilities are going up, cost of travel is going up? All of these things are increasing. What way do you offset those increases? Well, if you don't increase your fees, you're going to be working more or making less. So you have to think about what you can do. Raising your fees brings money right down to the bottom line, but it also can absorb the increases in your practice. Now when I talk about raising fees, people say, well, how much should I increase my fees? So what I tell doctors is that when we hit the slide in the economy, that we needed to change the strategy in fee increases. So before the economy started to turn down, we were looking at anywhere between 3 and 5% annual increases. Sometimes increases twice a year to come up to 5% for the year, except in hygiene, because we don't want to do any increases in hygiene more than once a year, because patients will see every time they're coming in, the fees are going up and they'll start to complain. So we want to see fee increases at least annually, 3 to 5%. Now, economy's gone down a little bit, it's a little soft. We're still not getting that soft on our increases. We're still looking at 2 to 3% increases annually in your fees. Leaving money on the table This is what I call keeping dentistry in the charts, discounting fees, understand you provide a healthcare service. Healthcare. People value that. Hopefully your patients do, and if they don't, it's up to you to educate them about the service that you're providing. So don't discount your fees. Keep your fees where they should be. Find other ways of being able to provide a benefit for a good patient, a patient that understands what you're trying to offer. Poor collection procedures. So let me ask you, what percentage of net production, and when I refer to net production, what percentage of net production should a doctor be collecting every month? Guesses, come on, throw in some numbers. Anybody? Don't be so shy. 99, that would be great. That actually, if you guys are doing that, that's awesome. But 97%. If you're not collecting 97% of your net production, after adjusting for insurance, that's your net production, then you need to take a look at your collection procedures. Very important. Very important.
You said after adjusting for insurance?
Yes.
So that's discounting fees?
No, that's not. When I'm talking about discounting fees, I'm talking about, like, for example, somebody comes in and your typical crown fee would be $1,200. And you say, you know, I'll do it for $1,000.
Isn't that the same thing as an insurance? If you accept a PPO, you're really accepting now a lower fee because you want those types of patients that are on a PPO?
If you already are participating in one, that's fine, but if you want to bring one in to get more patients, that's not necessarily a great way to do that. I find that practices who are, you know, substantially fee-for-service, maybe they participate in 1, 2, maybe 3 insurance companies, that bringing in insurance changes the whole model of the practice. And so, and once you do that, it's sometimes very difficult to go back. Yes?
How many PPO practices do you review or are part of or have knowledge of?
So we work with about 120 dental practices right now, all different sizes, and approximately, I would say about half of them are PPOs, maybe more. But there are substantial, you know, even fee-for-service practices, the doctor says they're fee-for-service, but then you go and look, and you know, the one insurance company that they participate in represents 60% of their active patients. So it's pretty, so it's still
you
pretty.
find that the PPO practices are becoming higher and higher as a percent of all dental practices?
There is definitely an increase, but what I'm actually seeing is many of my clients are actually dropping insurance companies now because there's a strategy to do that.
Okay.
And we work with them to help them understand what the impacts will be. So I was actually just talking to a doctor yesterday who was participating with MetLife since he opened his practice years ago. And this year he dropped MetLife. He took a day out of his schedule, and his practice is going to be down 5%. But he took a day out of his schedule. He now has time to spend with his young children who are in their early teens.
Yeah, but what if you're a young dentist that doesn't want to do it that way, wants to increase their practice?
So a newer dentist, usually in a startup, we would say, look at bringing in insurance companies when you open up your door. Look at participating for sure. But if it's an existing practice, there's a lot of patients there already. They're usually not going to leave. When we see a practice transition, let's say you have an older doctor who retires and a new dentist comes in, and that older doctor is participating with insurance companies, I wouldn't change. But there's a pretty good chance you're going to find that 10 to 20% of the patients are going to leave. That's the attrition that we typically see in a practice transition like that. However, participating in more insurance companies, that doesn't necessarily bring the new doctor the patients that they want to see. It just brings them patients. You've got to find a way to, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, about how bringing in patients, having the right approach to bringing in the patients that you want to see is very important. And it's actually one of the top 10 mistakes to go over that. Yes, go ahead.
You said that the doctor took a day out of his week.
Mm-hmm.
What about the staff?
They were still there, but not the hygienist and not the chair side. But he did have his office manager there, answering phones, making appointments, and that was fine for him.
And what about the full-time dental assistant or full-time hygienist? How did that work out?
So it's interesting, he was challenged by getting a good hygienist in. And so one of the reasons why he dropped the day and dropped